Hi guys, welcome back to Danny Face Beauty and Whimsy. I have my little whimsy today in the form of my Adidas referee shirt with a little bit of flair. So yeah, I bought this last summer, so I don't think it's available anymore. I'm just using this microphone as a prop because it absolutely is not working and I don't have my microphone today. But sometimes it's easier to just hold on. So anyway, this video, hold on to what? Hold on to something, okay? I'm holding on to something. This video is in response to the Hanifa situation and also that now infamous Tyra documentary, really the America's Next Top Model documentary. But I really wanted to come on here to talk about how we as a people process disappointment and how it feels like many of us are running to the internet in order to express our grievance, but then there's also the part of it, and obviously I'm a part of that right now, so I'll just be clear about that, but who are desiring to get content from any kind of news. And I've seen it in so many ways. So stepping outside of what I want to talk about today, with Hanifa, the brand, taking a step back. We don't know how long. I'm sure, she'll come back with something great. But I feel that there's a culture of being constantly online or perpetually online. And I think what that leads to, number one, is this desire to be in on everything, to have a think piece and a commentary. Sometimes not even, all of that, but just commentary on every single thing that happens, without fully, waiting for all the facts, right? I think sometimes we're in that sort of like, regular people feel the need to engage in like that news cycle, and regular people are part of the news cycle now. And so what happens is people are rushing to get the content out, rushing to get their thoughts out because they don't want to miss it. This could be their opportunity to gain followers, to get eyes on what they do, to make money, right? I don't think we talk enough about how much money is to be made off of real people's lives, real people's dysfunction, real people's career mistakes. And does it, like, have we not considered, right, that there are real people attached to these things, to these businesses, and every business is not a corporation, right? And therefore, a lot of the negativity comes down to the individual person, right? Like, I'm wearing this Adidas garment. If I'm unhappy with this Adidas garment, I'm not making a video calling out the CEO of Adidas, the founder of Adidas, like, I don't know his or her name or their names. And even if I have a problem, it's the brand, right, that gets attacked, and it's not them as people. And I think that sometimes we forget there's a way to go about things. I have compassion for both sides, right? I think that, in this generation, a lot of people have seen people go viral for any number of things, right? And so if you want eyes on your video in a way that could potentially change your life, then you'll jump on anything that anybody is talking about, whether it personally impacts you or not. Several years ago, I had a podcast with my husband. I'm not going to say the name of the podcast. It doesn't matter. And we would review, and I just want to say this is not about people who review TV shows, but we would review certain reality shows, right? It was like something that we liked to watch together, and we had all these thoughts, and we would like come on right away, right after the show aired, and like go live and all of that. I'm like, how did we go live? I have no idea because I can't go live on my current channel. So I don't know how you're able to do that. But anyway, so we would go live and people would, come in and say their feelings about the decisions, right, that some of the members were making. And after a while, especially like, so you kind of get on this cycle of like doing this stuff weekly, right? Like the episode comes out, you watch it, and you immediately talk about like your extreme feelings. Now, mind you, a lot of production has gone into what we see, meaning production is in the background, forcing conversations, right? Or strongly encouraging conversations to happen. In some cases, they may be withholding lunch until they get the scene that they want, right? That's not something that people talk about. I've had a very brief run-in with reality TV, and I kind of understand that. Anyway, I don't want to get too far in the weeds with, with the metaphor to reality TV. But I think sometimes we take everything is reality, and the fact that we have cameras and we can produce content and upload it very quickly, and we don't think about the impact on the persons. And that doesn't mean that like everybody that people who do bad things don't deserve to be held accountable. It doesn't mean any of that. But I will say another thing that happened that was very alarming for me. And so I would say a couple weeks ago, there was a mom who she walked away from her home and she wasn't seen. She was missing. It had been like maybe 2 weeks or something like that. Maybe not even 2 weeks, maybe a week. And immediately everyone jumps on the father's interview. Everyone is reading into his body language, right? And saying, oh, he did it and he did something with that lady's body. I mean, it was like so fast. And a story that would normally probably be news in that city or that county became like national news. And so you have this man, his name, his wife's full name, their house on TV. People are completely saying, yes, he did something with her. And the police had barely started their investigation. 2 days later, it's found through looking at CCTV cameras that the woman actually was suffering from some kind of anxiety and depression, and unfortunately unalived herself by walking into the river and never coming out, right? And so I didn't see anybody coming on saying, oh, my bad, I feel terrible about that video I put up accusing that husband. And that's what I mean. It's like the news cycle is so fast. And so when I think about the Hanifa brand, I'll just say I've never purchased anything from the brand, not for any particular reason. Well, I mean, I have a lot of clothes. You can see my closet. I'm in my closet. It is what it is. I do not have an aesthetic closet. I love clothes. I think I just hadn't gotten anything yet. But also I used to get into that Telfar, insanity when, there was a drop that came out and everybody's running for it. And I can't do it. So I think that's more so why I've never bought into the Hanifa brand, just purely out of, that is not my vibe. Like rushing to get something before I have a chance to really look at it. And I think that's some of the issues that come with virality, and everyone knowing your favorite fashion influencer coming online and saying, this is where I got something, here's the link. And you just feel like, okay, if I didn't get it this time, the next time it comes out, I'm just going to grab something. Before you have a chance to feel the fabrics, which you can't do, it's online. That's another issue for me. I typically, I'm not gonna say I only, but I typically only buy things online from brands that I know, that I'm aware of the quality of the pieces. I also live in a hot climate, so if something is super thick, it's just, and polyester, I can't breathe in it, okay? Like, I'm a woman of a certain age, okay? And I can't breathe. So that's just, it's just me knowing what works for me. So anyway, but what I think is so hard about the brand is that being on social media, right? We're all kind of at the same level, right? And so in the early days of social media, I would say like Twitter, there were lots of celebrities who came on, and if they ran into a problem, right, they would use the clout that they had from being a celebrity, not just their name, but their follower count, right? And they would say, insert major airline name. I had a horrible time at this, gate, you lost my bags. And now you have 50,000 people dogpiling, right? And saying, get this person their bags. I'm never flying on Delta or whatever. I don't mean to say Delta. I don't have any problems with Delta. I don't want any smoke. But I just mean with whatever, let's say USA Airlines. That's not a thing, right? And so what happens is that then it feels like anybody should and could do that, right? And that is not something that has been going on. That's not something that has always existed. Normally, if you have a problem, you go directly to the brand, no matter what it is. You say, there was a problem with my order, or I haven't received my order, or there's strings everywhere, or whatever it is. And the brand, it's their job to fix it for you. Now, what I will say, a lot of customer service, sorry, hair is just, a lot of customer service, a lot of brands are rolling back sort of the really great customer service that we're used to in this country. And for smaller brands, I can't, specifically say, but I will say that it creates this catch-22 situation, right? And it's just sad to see. I think sometimes when we consume things at such a rate of speed that when you see something that someone else has and it looks nice and you have access to it via a link, you feel like you need it, and you need it right now, and you are deserving of it because you can afford it, or you have the option to, do a 4-for-4 kind of plan, layaway basically. Whereas previously, that's not always how that situation worked, right? And so I think that we've run into this unique problem where there's a brand that has an issue, right? And it's usually a small business. And I think small businesses are not, I think everyone wants to be viral, right? But how much can one person be expected to handle? They are not huge corporations. I think I saw Walmart do a commercial and they said, we have 500 million items. You can get whatever you need. And I'm like, that is crazy. When has one store needed 500 million items? Like, why do you need to go to one place for everything? I don't like that. It's weird. And how do they do it? Is that they outsource a lot. And so when you're on the website or the app, I always make sure that I'm only shopping for stuff that I can get in store, whether I'm doing an in-store pickup or a drive up or even delivery. I don't want something that is from some third party brand that I don't know who they are, right? Because I can't trust the product that I'm going to get. I can't trust that it hasn't been in somebody's garage for 6 months, with dogs and cats and rabbits and, like, I don't know. And that's like not me. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I'm a little bit bougie in that way. And if I can't get it, that's okay. And let's talk about Amazon. You ain't getting your stuff the next day. And I don't see enough people talking about it. I really don't. I completely, at the end of last year, removed myself from Prime. It was hard because I like watching, well, my daughter likes watching Prime Video. And I like the option to watch it. But honestly, I haven't felt that the paying for Prime has been worth it in probably 2 years, maybe 3, and we just don't really think about it. But I'm like, I don't see Amazon getting enough heat. I see so many videos just constantly, just full Amazon commercials. Get this on Amazon, get this on Amazon. Most of those companies have their own websites and you can go straight to the company. And most of the time they're the same price. And if there's less of a price, if there's a price difference, it's like $3. You know what I mean? And sometimes the Amazon price is more. So you're paying more and you're paying a monthly fee for Prime shipping. I have ordered things off of Amazon since I have stopped my Prime membership, and I get it in the same time as I got it before with the Prime membership. So, so I just think we have to be careful about, Tashira said this, dogpiling, and I agree with her. Because I think we forget that these are small businesses, and it's kind of like similar to the dating market, right? Like, they're not, you were meant to have access to people in your town, okay? Not people all over the country. And so I think it's so hard for people to connect with each other, right? Because you don't focus on what's in your area. I'm sure there are mom and pops, maybe not in your city, but not mom and pops, but small businesses in your city or in your state that are doing really amazing things. I found this, I got this birthday skirt. You guys can look at one of my videos. I think I might have titled it what I wore for my birthday. I don't really remember. It's a short. And it's like this plum skirt that has so much texture, and it's very Hanifa coated, to be honest, but it's by another small brand based in my state. And it still took probably like 10 days to get to me, from the same state, not the same city, but from the same state. And I ordered in enough time because I knew I wanted to wear it for my birthday. So I ordered it about 3 weeks before my birthday, and I had it in plenty of time. And matter of fact, it was a 2-piece outfit. So I tried on the top and I didn't like it. I didn't like how it fit, and I sent it back. And I just kept the bottom, and it was expensive. So, I'm like, I'm not holding on to something that I don't like the fit of. So anyway, that was that. So yeah, so that's that. And then, speaking of dogpiling, let's talk about Tyra and America's Next Top Model. Wow. 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 So I'm gonna keep it short because I'm already at almost 20 minutes of this video. But I watched the documentary. It wasn't like, I don't know. I wouldn't say like things were like damning as like most people who made reaction videos made it feel like. And I think that's because I was there, right? I watched versus like people who watched in like 2020. Tyra was saying like 2020, like we act like 2020 is like an adjective, and I get it, like it changed the world, but like it's kind of weird. Like, ultimately, bad choices were made. Like I said, a few minutes ago, I was talking about how I had a very brief stint with reality TV. And when people made the comparison of, if you told Tyra that your parents died, or had addiction to something or whatever, then that would become part of the photo shoot that you had to do. That is real. That is really real. And it's usually not the host. That's what the producers do. And that's because the producers are just trying to find something to, like, a topic. And essentially, they use the cast to create the topic. And you have to be very careful what you tell producers. They will approach you and talk to you like they care. They will approach you and talk to you like they're your friends. And they will then use what you told them and create scenarios. So producers are not your friends. I'm not going to say they're evil people, because everybody's out here working for a paycheck. But everything is not Tyra. If any of us kind of went through the BuzzFeed era, when BuzzFeed was everywhere, and we knew that, like, after a while we realized, like, wait a minute, they're stealing content ideas from other regular people. Yep, that's what happens. That's what happens, because everybody is trying to make something happen quickly, and the easiest thing that they can do is borrow from something that already exists or something that's in their orbit. So if they came across a video, then yes, they're going to recreate that video. And so, I think that's a lot would happen with America's Next Top Model. Mr. J, I always liked Mr. J, but he has it's clear he has a different level, like he has a bone to pick with Tyra, and it's on a different level. And to me, it doesn't seem, I don't think he took as much accountability personally, but again, I do feel like people will do what they need to do for a check. And even people who we consider wealthy or famous, and sometimes you can be famous without wealth, right? Sometimes you're only as wealthy as your last job, particularly jobs that revolve, content, or, Hollywood, or that, booking a show, right? Like, he was a character who was booked on a show, and he played that well. And so just the fact that he wrote a book that tried to continue sort of off of the America's Next Top Model legacy just shows that, he kind of felt like, this is my lane, this is all I have to offer. I feel like I watched Tyra, like, I'm a kid who saw Tyra in the modeling industry, and she was a supermodel, right? Like, there was Naomi, who was like a different type of supermodel. Tyra was like an around the way. One, she was American, right? So there's that. And then two, she was like very much like, I'm an around the way girl. And then you saw her on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and she played that role really well. And I think she was in movies too, and I remember seeing her. And so she always kind of played that LA girl. I'm not gonna say trope, because I think it is her. But I think when you are so closely aligned to a brand, the ANTM brand, and you see something work, right? Which is that Tyra did this goofy, like extremely goofy kind of shtick, and it works. And it's like, people just keep asking you to tell the same joke, right? And there's a point where the joke is tired. And I feel like, but when it is tied to your livelihood, I think you don't know how not to be that anymore. And that's what I see from Tyra. There is an emptiness there. And what I think is that it's a wall, because she learned how to be one way, and in front of cameras, this is the goofy whatever Tyra. And then whoever her real Tyra is, she keeps to herself and to people who are actually in her real orbit. And I think that the Jays and Nigel, who at a certain point, right, your coworkers, like, I think we have to, like, think about that, right? Like, most of us do not go to work and we're like finding our best friends. It's not to say that you can't, because you can. I believe that. But most of us are not. And so sometimes people learn how to be with their coworkers. I'm not saying I'm not absolving her of any guilt in all this stuff, but some of the stuff, like, let me see, was it Kenya or something? And she was talking about the guy who, was handsy with her. I mean, we all have to deal with that. And I don't know that that's Tyra's fault, as Tyra wasn't there. Like, I think that's production, and they should have protected her. As far as Danielle with the teeth, I remember that. I mean, yikes. And I think when you're really young, you don't know, you're not aware of the line of people. I think you see an opportunity, and you see this person who is like an idol to you. And maybe they're not an idol, but they're somebody who made it, and this is the closest you've ever been to somebody who made it, and you believe that you're different and special, and that they're your friend, or that they're your second parent, and that they should completely have sort of full, not control over your life, but they should be able to pull every string. And that's not realistic. It's not realistic in real life, right? Like, I remember watching America's Next Top Model, and at some point it just felt like the seasons were coming so fast. This is why they don't say we did 25 years. They say we did 25 seasons, because it was not on for 25 years, So, like, at some point it felt like the show was doing at least 2 seasons a year, maybe more. Like, it just felt like it was constantly on. And what does that mean? It's hard to know every person, like, when you're going back to back like that. I don't think that Tyra's a terrible person. I think the whole show was moving so fast that I think she was terribly unprepared to handle and consider that her baby, her project, grew into this monster, and that perhaps she should slow it down to make sure that the monster was doing what it set out to do in the first place. And I think it was very early on that we saw that those girls were not going to be models. And I think when you look at the success of certain people, those were people who were of, I'm not going to say of sound mind, because I am trying to say that, but I'm trying to say these were people who clearly knew who they were, even as young girls. And I would say that Eva Pigford, or Eva the Diva, whatever her name is, she had a great experience, because she came in there. Eva was giving those girls hell from the beginning, okay? She was. And so when you have somebody like that, they're already a big fish in their small pond, okay? So she was gonna be okay. Yaya came in knowing exactly who she was and who she was. You couldn't tell her anything. She had a wonderful sense of self. I would love to see that in more young girls. And so, of course, I'm not surprised. She also, like, I want to say she was a graduate of Yale, like, extremely intelligent and smart. And so, of course, she's all right. And I think the same, and then there were other people who were able to make it because there was some niche in the market, and it really worked out for them. And I think all the other people, sometimes you take desperate people and they can be made beautiful and have new skills. But if they don't know how to market themselves, how to network themselves, right? That's where that sort of secondary bump comes into play. And if you come from nowhere and have no connection to anybody and don't know how to walk into a room and own it, not just in a picture, you're not going to get very far. What I will say about Danielle, or Danny, I've always thought she was so beautiful. And every time I saw her, I never saw her in anything, like in fashion weeks and things. I'm sure she was in them. But I remember seeing her in catalogs. And I still see her in catalogs to this day. And so I could see that she had a lot of hurt and pain. But I consider her a success. I don't know how much money she makes. I supported her brand. She has a brand called Monroe. I want to say it's Monrow. I could be wrong, but I remember she was making hats, and they were beautiful, like very African coded, and just gorgeous hats, straw hats. And so I have one of them. It's up there, but yeah, they're kind of expensive. Okay, they're expensive. I want to say like $300, but every once in a while I'm gonna support her because I think she's dope, and I wish her and all the other girls well. But anyway, that is what I wanted to say about kind of the state of this internet union that we have, and just take everything with a grain of salt. Um, don't dogpile on people because they're real people. That was what I wanted to say too when I had my podcast and I was reviewing relationship shows. I realized like these are just regular people who want love. They're not reality stars. They have regular jobs. And when we know their names and we're dissecting every single decision they make with the time that they have under a high pressure situation, it just didn't feel fair. It felt like we were bashing somebody with one hand behind their back. And I don't think it's fair. And, celebrities are one thing, but I think even they are people too. And so I just want us to move forward with compassion for everybody. It doesn't mean that people shouldn't be held accountable, but I think it's best if we do our best to look at both sides of the coin, right? And there's always three sides to every story, and to give people an opportunity. If it's not something that like somebody died, like, did you die? Okay. If you didn't, just move on, right? Just move on. There are certain brands and businesses that I don't like, like I fell into the trap of, oh my gosh, I got to get it. There's a drop, da, 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 da. And I got the product and I'm like, it's okay. And a lot of times because they're still small brands and they're still growing and they're figuring out their product and they're figuring out probably their manufacturers, I don't take it personally. I just spend less money. Like, it's very simple. We don't need everything that goes viral. We don't need it. And with that, lead with love. Bye, y'all. It's been Danny Face Beauty and Whimsy, and thank you for listening. Like and subscribe.